In the escalating war between President Donald Trump and the Harvard University, the US president has suspended international visas for new students seeking to study at the Harvard University. This is for an initial 6 months. Signing a proclamation, the Trump administration has directed the Secretary of State to consider revoking those visas known as F, M and J visas for current Harvard students who meet the proclamation's criteria. The Trump administration cited national security concerns as a justification for barring international students from entering the university. Disha joining us to get us the very latest. Disha, there's no stopping Donald Trump as he pushes to add further restrictions, whether it's to Harvard, the university, or its students.
Absolutely, Divya. When it comes to these restrictions, in fact, the Trump administration has defended this decision, saying that, in fact, foreign students and their admission to these Ivy League institutions is a privilege, not a guarantee, and it also relies on these institutions following the federal law, and now declaring that Harvard University is no longer following the federal law, and that is why they are now banning all foreign students from not just seeking enrollment to the university, but also threatening the current students, international students at Harvard. And of course, Harvard University has reacted to this fresh attack on its students, saying that they will continue to defend their international students and that this is another illegal step. But when it comes to the legality of this move, that remains under question, given the fact that a federal judge had blocked Trump's previous moves against Harvard, especially its international students. So that remains to be seen.
Right, thank you so much, Disha, raising questions about 788 Indian students studying at Harvard currently. US President Donald Trump has signed a new travel ban targeting 12 countries, including Iran and Afghanistan. But notably, Pakistan is not on the travel ban list of Donald Trump. Now, of course, we have the very latest in regard to the countries that are on that list. Let's get you all the details.
Estados Unidos acaba de sacar algo prohibiendo la entrada de cualquier venezolano a los Estados Unidos. Son como 9 países. No, ni con visa. Prohibida. Están eliminadas las visas para Estados Unidos. En verdad, estar en Estados Unidos es un gran riesgo para cualquier persona, no solo para los venezolanos. Si usted es bien pajugo, vaya para Estados Unidos.
In a sweeping move that's already rattling foreign governments and immigration attorneys, US President Donald Trump has signed a new executive order banning or restricting travel from 19 countries he deems as national security threats. The list? It's wide-ranging, from Afghanistan to Venezuela, from Iran to Sudan, from Myanmar to Haiti. The official reason? Well, Trump says these nations fail to meet US vetting standards, either due to inadequate documentation, terrorism risks, criminal record gaps, or rampant visa overstays. But critics, well, they say this is not about security. It's about profiling entire regions and shutting America's doors to the global south. This isn't Trump campaigning. This is official US policy, signed, sealed, and implemented from the White House. Trump's move follows a disturbing case in Colorado, where an Egyptian national in the US on an expired visa attacked pro-Israel demonstrators with a Molotov cocktail. The White House is holding up this case as proof that visa loopholes equal terror risks. Now, Trump says in the 21st century, we've seen one terror attack after another carried out by foreign visa overstayers. We don't want them. These are the US president's words. So the new order excludes green card holders and valid visa holders and allows exceptions for those deemed to serve US national interest, but it tightens entry pathways for thousands across Africa, Latin America, and Asia. With visa scrutiny already intense and Trump tightening immigration further, this could shape how people across the globe, especially from certain regions or religious backgrounds, are vetted in US consulates. And globally, this reignites the debate. Is America safer when it's closed its doors? Or is this another page out of the playbook of fear wrapped in a presidential seal?
And Congress MP Shashi Tharoor in Washington said that India doesn't need to be persuaded, as it doesn't want a war. If there was any persuasion by the American president or his senior officials, it would have been persuasion of Pakistanis. They would have to be persuaded, in reference to Trump weighing in to stop the war. All it really meant was retribution against terrorists. If Pakistan had not reacted, we would not have reacted, is what Tharoor has gone on to say. He also said Operation Sindoor was a brilliantly chosen name, the colour of Sindoor not very different from the colour of blood, and explained its significance.
I think the US has understood for some time now that India has a very clear position that there will be no talks with a gun pointed at our head. It's not that we can't talk to Pakistan. I was joking the other day, we can speak all the languages they can speak. And we're very happy to dialogue with them in any of those languages. The problem is we will not dialogue with people who are pointing a gun at our heads. I mean, frankly, if your neighbor unleashes his Rottweilers to bite your children, and in fact to do worse to your children, and then says, let's talk. You think he's going to talk to them until he either unleashes those Rottweilers or locks them up in a kennel or puts them to sleep? It's as simple as that. You're not going to talk to people who are pointing guns at your temples. It's not going to happen.
Message is loud and clear of all the Indian delegations that have spanned across the globe that it is Pakistan who is the aggressor. India only responded to the attacks. India only responded to the various comments, various gimmicks from the Pakistani side, and the delegation was almost copied by the Pakistani side. They also sent a delegation headed by Bilawal Bhutto, which also has been severely criticized. But India's delegation has been warmly welcomed by across the globe, by almost all nations. And in the US, Shashi Tharoor has highlighted why the Operation Sindoor name was chosen. He has given impetus on the word Sindoor as to why this word was important while choosing the name. So that is what the conversation was about, and also the fact that both the parties, BJP and Congress, have now joined hands to spread this message forward.
Well, let's just get you the very latest, and this is in regard to Indian students that are increasingly growing anxious over Trump administration's plans to mandate social media vetting before approving visas for all international students seeking to study in the United States. Social media vetting is a process included by the Trump administration in the visa application courses to assess their suitability to be able to enter the United States or not. The platforms that go through the vetting process includes Facebook, social media site X, as well as LinkedIn and TikTok, amongst others. The United States on Wednesday vetoed a Security Council draft resolution that would have demanded an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and the immediate lifting of all restrictions on humanitarian aid. The draft resolution tabled by the 10 elected members of the Security Council won the support of 14 out of the 15 members of the Council. The United States, which holds veto powers, and vetoed against it. The draft resolution would have demanded the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages held by Hamas and other groups, and the immediate and unconditional lifting of all restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza and a safe and unhindered distribution of scale.
美国已多次否决安理会的停火要求，也正是由于美国对以色列的袒护，安理会通过的数份决议均没有得到有效落实。所谓安理会行动将干扰外交努力的说法完全站不住脚。只要是真正致力于和平的外交努力，安理会的行动只会提供强大助力。
Now, days after exiting Washington as chief of DOJ, well, it's Elon Musk who has continued to target. Now, he is targeting President Donald Trump's massive tax and immigration package, better known as his Big Beautiful Bill, escalating his attacks and urging lawmakers to kill the bill. This came hours after several government agencies projected that the bill would add more than $2.4 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. Not just Musk, many other hardliners, these are hardline Republicans who have also ramped up their attacks against the sprawling $4 trillion mega package. And it's Russian President Vladimir Putin who has said that he will have to respond to Ukraine's major drone attacks on Russian air bases. US President Donald Trump has warned this after a phone call that took place between the United States President and the Russian leader. After the over 1 hour long conversation, Trump acknowledged the call would not lead to an immediate end to the war in Ukraine. The conversation between the two leaders marks the first since Ukraine launched a surprise attack using smuggled drones to strike Russian air bases on the 1st of this month, targeting what it said was nuclear-capable long-range bombers. The Kremlin statement also noted that the two leaders discussed the India-Pakistan ceasefire during that conversation. The Department of Education has alleged that Columbia University no longer has, accreditation standards and escalation of the Trump administration scrutiny when it comes to the institution, which it has really gone ahead and accused of violating federal anti-discrimination laws. The U.S. Secretary of Education has said that the decision came after this was, basically what really took place at the protest that the students at the university, they were using the grounds opposing the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. The move could have massive implications for college and universities, as education experts suggest it eliminates protections for the students on campus. At least 11 people have died and 50 were injured in a stampede outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru as a huge crowd of fans gathered to greet the RCB team, the Royal Challengers Bengaluru team, after it won the IPL for the first time in 18 long years. Visuals showed several fans fainted outside the stadium and ambulances were not really present. Ambulances were stuck in the crowds and cops were taking the injured away. The Prime Minister has reacted to the stampede in Bengaluru and said the mishap is absolutely heart-rending. Thousands of protesters, including scientists, doctors, disabled people and women rights activists, joined Argentina's pensioners on Wednesday in a weekly demonstration against the president's measures. Activists and supporters gathered outside Argentina's Congress building to demand changes to the government's social welfare policy. The protest took place as lawmakers discussed a bill introduced by the opposition that aims to declare an emergency in the country's welfare system.
Hoy estamos acá frente al Congreso porque la discapacidad está en emergencia, tanto para los chicos que necesitan todas sus prestaciones y hoy no las están cubriendo porque se ha liberado todas las obras sociales, hoy se hace lo que quiere, los chicos no tienen ni cómo llegar a las instituciones no tienen cómo solventar todos los gastos que tienen y seguimos dando igualmente todo el servicio de calidad.
2 people died on Wednesday after a giant crane collapsed at the construction site for a new Central Florida hospital, is what officials have gone on to say. The collapse occurred at the site of the new Cape Hospital, which is on the Atlantic coast, about 60 miles or about 90 kilometers east of Orlando. 2 people were transported to a nearby hospital where they later died. This is what the officials really had to say, and they could not even identify the victims at first. Syria's new government has agreed to give inspectors from the United Nations nuclear watchdog access to suspected former nuclear sites immediately. The agency's head has gone on to say that the International Atomic Energy Agency's Director General has spoken in an exclusive interview in Damascus, where he met with the president and other officials as well.
This visit has a number of reasons, but one very important is the process that we are trying to initiate, or maybe I should say reinitiate, to try to clarify, to bring total clarity over certain activities that took place in the past that were, in the judgment of the agency, probably related to nuclear weapons. So that process was interrupted. Now, with a new government, with a government that is committed to opening up to the world, to international cooperation, I felt that this offered us a good possibility to restart this work and to try to bring to hopefully good conclusion this process. So we are going to be performing some inspection activities even during my visit.
Now, more than 1.5 million foreign pilgrims are in Saudi Arabia for Hajj. People streamed into Mina on Wednesday, which marked the first day of Hajj. Some made the journey on foot, carrying their luggage through temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius. And according to traditional sayings of the Prophet, the day of Arafat is the most sacred day of the year, when God draws near to the faithful and forgives their sins. Now, more than 1.5 million foreign pilgrims who are there. This is what the spokesperson has gone on to say. Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, a religious obligation involving rituals and acts of worship that every Muslim must fulfill if they have the money and are physically able to do so. Hajj Ministry spokesperson has provided an approximate number for foreigners at this year's pilgrimage. North Korean leader has met with Russian Security Council secretary, and this has taken place on Wednesday. The state media went on to report that in April, the two countries officially confirmed that North Korean troops deployment to Russia for the very first time, saying that soldiers of the two countries were fighting alongside each other to repel a Ukrainian incursion into Russia's Kursk border region. At the time, Russian President Vladimir Putin had thanked North Korea's participation in the war and promised not to forget their sacrifices.